Thanks for joining me to color. Today we're going to be working on this adorable Stampin' Bella image called Chelsea and Lauren. Aren't they cute? Two little friends out having lunch together and shopping. Very cute. I will put a link down in the description box of the card kit and all the supplies I used. I would love for you to come shopping with me. If you have a question, leave me a comment and I'll make sure and get back to you. Otherwise, I have already stamped my image on Nina 80-pound Solar White cardstock with Memento Tuxedo Black ink. So let's color. Since we're going to cut the girls out, we don't need to outline today. We're going to start with their skin, and since they have such little areas to color, we're going to use E11 and 21. And let's start over here on this girl's legs with E11. I'm going to go right along the bottom, and then I want to go down the back of her leg. And when you get down here, it's pretty skinny, so it takes up most of the space. And then for this foot, we're going to go down the back of this leg. And again, her ankle gets really skinny, so don't worry about that. Just color it all the way in. Or if you're really careful, you can just use a little skinny line. And then over here, we're going to do this one right next to her other leg. And then we're going to take our E21 and we're going to fill the rest of the way in. Nothing fancy for this today. And we'll try not to color these ruffles. I'm going to leave those white. And let's do a little bit right up here. And let's hop up here and we'll do her arm. So again, start with your E11. I'm going to go along the bottom of this one. And then down the back of her arm. And she's got a little bit of her skin showing right here between her dress. So I'm going to give that a little swipe. And then let's do a little dab on her neck. And it's really skinny, so be careful. And then I'm going to go down right next to her arm and across her bust. And then for this arm, let's go down the back, or the bottom. And then the bottom side of her fingers here and down the bottom of her arm. And then again, we want to fill that all in with our E21. Fill in that little dab of skin there before I forget it. And then this one, she's got a little bit of her fingers or her hands showing here. Those fingers are really dinky, so be careful on those. And we'll do that. And then for her face, I did my E21 or my E11 over here on this half. And then a little dab underneath of her bangs right here. And then I just filled in the rest with my E21. Okay, let's hop over here and we'll do this other girl. So let's start down here on her legs and we'll do our E11 first. So on this leg here, let's go a little dab right next to her knee and then come down the back of her leg. There's that skinny ankle again. And then she's got strappy shoes on, so she's got a little toe sticking out. And go ahead and do that. And then I'm going to do right next to her dress. and then the back of her leg. And then we're going to fill that in with our E21. I'll go down the front. I'm trying to be careful. I don't want to go outside the lines because when I cut her out, I left a little bit of white on the edge. If you're going to cut it out on the black line, then you don't have to worry about that. You can just go right along. Or if you're just going to leave her white, yes, be careful. So then let's go up here and we'll do her arms. Again, grab your E11. And for this arm, let's go down the back. And then down here, we'll bring her elbow all the way down. And then up here. I'm going to give these fingers a little dab of color. And then for this side, let's go down her arm. And then down the back here. And then let's fill that in with our E21. And then for this girl, let's do that little bitty neck, so be careful on that. I'm going to go across over here and bring that over. Then she's got a little bit of her ear showing. And then on her face, I'm going to do underneath of her hair. And then we're going to swipe across this way. And then we'll take our E21 and fill the rest of that skin area in. Okay, let's do their hair next. For the girl on this side, we're going to use E53 and 51, and for this girl's hair, we're going to use N9 and N5. So let's start over here with this cutie. And they're pretty small, so we don't have to worry too much about adding a bunch of color. I'm going to do my E53 first. Let's give this little curly Q right here just a little dab of color. And then these bangs, a little bit on the inside there and leave a little bitty white streak. And then for her little bun, I kind of just followed a little bit of the line. And then let's add some up here to her hair and back. And I'm using those lines again as my guide, just kind of following those around. And then I just took my E51 and filled it the rest of the way in. And then I went back with my E53 and put some dark back in there. Then let's go do this other girl's hair. So let's start with our N9. And I'm going to do N9 down here on this bottom section of this little curl. And if you don't use your N9 very much, be careful because it's very dark. You might want to take the other end of your pin off so that you don't spill it. And I'm going to color that little section in over there too. And then over here on this side, let's do a little dab coming away from that flower. And then up here, we want it to come up. So again, be careful around that flower. You don't want to color that. I'm going to go ahead and get really close to the flower first and pull up just a little bit. That way I don't have to worry about touching it. Okay, and let's go down from the top. So I'm going to go, and I'm going to use these lines that are already here as my guide. take our N5 and let's color in this little dab over here and these cute little sections down here. And then up here, I'm going to go right along. I'm going to leave a little bit of white, or try to. And then it's got a little shiny area there. Let's hop over and do the table and these stool legs right here. So we're going to do that first. Let's start down here at the bottom. We're going to use C1 and C00. So for this one, I'm going to go right along this line and then kind of give it a little curve there. So it's got a little backward C. And then for the stool leg, let's do a little dab underneath of her foot. And then I'm going to color in this little section that's in between her shoe and her other foot. And then I'm going to do a little dab up here. And then I'm going to take my C00. We're going to soften this line. And we're just going to fill it the rest of the way in. Let's hop up here and do the table leg. So again, grab your C1. And let's do underneath right here, between those bags. And then we want to do up here coming out from underneath the table. And then underneath of her foot. And then again, we're going to fill that all in with our C00. Let's go up here and get this stool leg. So again, she's got this little colored spot here, that line. I'm going to use that to make my C. And then let's do a little dab underneath the stool. And then down here underneath of her shoe. And then fill that the rest of the way in with your C00. Let's hop up here and we'll do the tabletop. So C1, let's do that right along this circle here on the edge. And then this side too. I kind of brought it out and then I did like a skinnier line in the middle there. And then up here, let's do a little line underneath of her elbow and this elbow. And then I'm going to bring this over here underneath of the plate and the teapot. Then we want to get her hand too. So let's do a little shadow coming away from her hand and under her arm. And then I'm just going to use my C00 to fill that the rest of the way in. Around all this stuff. Let's do the stool tops next. For that, we're going to use W9, 7, 5, and 3. Let's start with our W9. And I'm going to start over here on this girl. So let's do, along, and be careful, don't get her leg. So I'm going to bring this color out here towards the edge of her skirt. And then I also want to go right next to her fanny. And then I'm going to bring this color along the edge of the C right here. And I'm going to brush this up just a little bit. And then I'm going to grab W7. And we want to just add a little bit more. And then we want to bring this out. And then we're going to add W5. And then fill it in with your W3. All right, let's do this stool. So grab your W9 and let's go from here out, and then we want to go next to her dress. And I'm going to bring this color underneath of her leg and just a little bit out here on the stool edge. Then I'm going to add W7. W5. And then our W3 to fill that in. All right, so I'm also going to make this girl's skirt black. So let's go with our W9. And I'm going to do that on this side. And I want to again leave those ruffles white, so be careful, don't touch those. Oops, I think there's a little line right here. I'm going to go ahead and bring this line out like this. And then I'm going to add W7. So I'm going to bring that along the edge of these ruffles. And then we'll add W5. And then we want to fill that rest in with our W3. And I laid it lighter on this side so that when she sat on her stool, you would see the difference between her skirt and the bar stool, since we colored them the same color. Let's work on the blonde's dress. For the body of the dress, we're going to use BG 75, 72, and 70. And I'm going to start with my BG 72. Let's do a little dab up here on this sleeve. And then for this sleeve, she's got a little bit of the underneath showing. So let's do a little dab of this right here. And then we want to come away from the side of the sleeve right here a little bit. And be careful, we're going to color these fan things a different color, so don't get too close to that. And then over here, there's a little bit of the body of her dress showing right here, so I'm going to color that. Give a little splash of color. And let's go down the rest of the back of her arm. I'm going to bring this color out just a little bit more. And then for the front here, let's do a little dab next to the front of her arm. And then I also want to bring that color away from that line just a little bit. And let's see here, she's going underneath the table. So let's do right next to the table. Whoops, let me turn her a little bit here. And then we're going to come out this way. And the line of her dress doesn't go all the way out to her dress, so I'm just going to make one there. And then we want this color to also come away. And she's got a little line right here, so I'm going to bring that out a little bit. And there is a little bit of space there between those fans, so you might want to dab a little dab of that in there, like this. Okay, then we're going to grab BG72. So let's add a little bit to the sleeve up here. I'm going to color in behind her arm there, the underside of her shirt, or her dress. Like that. And then we're going to bring a little bit of that color on this sleeve. And then just work this color over a little bit. And then we want to do the body of her dress down here. And again, you can see some of the dress between these little fan lines, so I'm going to try to be really careful and brush a little bit of color in between there. And right over here, let's do a little dab. Okay, so now, since we're going to use BG70 next, BG70 is way off from BG72. See, this one's really, really light compared to this one. So I'm going to grab a little bit of color off my BG72, and then I'm going to use that to color in the rest of her dress. And you'll periodically need to grab a little bit more, so let me grab a little bit more. And I lay down on top of my BG72 and then pull along that edge. So by the time I get to the top, I don't have too much ink on there. I get out here at the edge, it's way lighter, so it's closer to the BG70. Okay, so I need to grab a little bit more. And let's go in between this fan here a little bit. Grab a little bit more ink, and let's do right here. Oh, need a little bit more. So it gives it a nice little shade in between, so you aren't quite so dark right along here, and then you got this really light blue. I'm just going to soften some of these lines up here just a little bit. That. Okay, so let's go over here and we're going to do the plates. So for that we're going to use BG72 and 70. So I'm going to take my BG72 first, and I'm going to go just a little bit under each of these little sushis. And then the same for this side. And her arm's there, so don't color her arm. But I'm going to do a little dab right here on this side of the plate. And then I'm going to take my BG70. I'm just going to color right along the edge and color in the rest of those plates. Okay, and then we got the teapot and the cup. So for that, we're just going to use BG70. So I'm going to take my BG70, and on the teapot, I'm going to do a little bit along the bottom, and then we're just going to brush a little bit from this side. And then we're going to leave this side white. And then same for this teacup. Let's do this one on this half. That. And then we're going to do the same thing for this girl's teacup. Let's go right next to her finger and just brush half of that cup. And we'll leave the other half white. And you can't see it very good, but it is there. Let's work on the fans on this dress. For that, we're going to use R05, 14, and 02. I'm going to start with my R05, and I want to color the end of each of these little fans. There's a little line there that shows you that they each have a little end. And they're very dinky, so be really careful. They're even smaller than her arm. I forgot a spot right there on her dress. Let me grab BG72 real quick and fill this little section right here in. Okay, back with our R05. Let's continue filling in these little fans. Okay, then we're going to go with our R14, and I want to color in the bottom of the little fan. So give each little bottom of the fan a little flick. And since these are so close down here, I'm going to leave those. I'm not going to give those any color. And then we want to fill them in the rest of the way with our R02. So let's do, how about our little bracelet here too? Let's grab R14 and let's do a little dab of color on each side. And then we'll take our R02 to fill in that little gap. Okay, so let's now hop over here and do the flower and her hair with these same colors. So R05 first, and I'm going to dab a little bit of that color just down the line of the inside of that flower. And then I'm going to add R14. And then we're going to fill it in with our R02. And then for the center of the flower, we're going to use Y35. So I'm going to do that real quick. And then let's hop over here and we're going to do this sushi real quick. So I'm going to go with R05. And there's a little dot in the center of each one of these little sushis. So I'm just going to give each one of those a little daub of color. And this one over here, let's do... And then I took my Y35, whoops, put the lid back on, and we're going to do, I colored in just the tops where the little red dot was. That. Then let's go over here and we're going to do this girl's shirt. So again, grab your R05. And let's do a little dab on this side of her arm right here. That. And then let's come down the back of her arm. And remember, be careful of that ruffle. We're going to paint that. We're going to do that white. But I want to bring this out just a little bit. So let's go on here, feather that out a little bit more. And then we're going to add R05. So the same thing, we're just going to feather that out. And let's add a little bit to the front. And then we want to fill it in with our RO2. I'm going to go ahead and go down the back here so I don't color out of the lines. Go a little bit closer. And then I'm going to go in a little circle here on this little line that's going on. Let me turn it a little bit more. And let's brush over this a little bit to soften that edge. There's her little shirt. Okay, let's see here. What do we got else? Oh, her shoes. Let's do her shoes with RO5. And I didn't do anything fancy. I'm just going to fill them all the way in. And that cute little heel. Whoops, missed a little spot right here. Okay, then we're also going to use these colors on this largest package over here. So grab your RO5 first. Good, I already have that one. So I'm going to use that to go along the bottom of the package. And then I'm going to kind of swoop it up a little bit here. And we're going to go right along the edge. That. And then over here, we're going to go continue along the bottom of the package. And then we're going to go up the side of this package. And let's do a little dab over here next to this handle. Then we're going to add R14. And a little dab over here. And then we're going to fill that in with our RO2. And we're going to rub over that a couple more times here, soften this edge. Let's give it a little bit more over here. Okay, and then later for that package, I gave it some dots with my Sharpie white paint pen. Grab your BG72 and let's do this girl's shoes. I forgot about them. So I'm just going to fill those in. And then there's this little strap over here. And she's got such skinny little heels, we don't have to worry about those. I'm just going to leave them like they are. For this next package here by the red one, we're going to do E31 and E30. I'm going to start with my E31. I'm going to go right along the edge here, and then I want to come up this side. And then I'm going to come along the bottom of the package. And then we're going to go up this side. I'm going to go ahead and curve this in a little bit, so let's go like this. Then I'm going to grab E30, and I'm going to fill it the rest of the way in. Be careful without touching that red. You don't want to pick that red up and drag it over into your brown spot. Then I'm going to soften this edge right here on this package. I'm going to go over that a second time. Now let's brush out here again. Brush this side. And then I didn't go all the way across, so now I'm going to brush again. So I'm going to start over here, and I'm going to brush, and that'll make, every time I give it another brush, it makes it a little bit darker here, but it still stays a little bit lighter over here. Okay, and then for the last time, I'm going to go all the way across. And later for that package, I gave it some X's with my Copic multi-liner. For this package, we're going to use R02, 01, and 00. I'm going to start with your R02. Let's go down the center line here. And then I'm going to do each side of these little V's down here. And then for this package, I'm going to use my shadow in the back and then along the bottom. But like this one, I want to add a little curve. I'm just going to come down and curve it around. And I'm going to add R01. So let's go ahead and soften this. I'm going to go ahead and fill in this section right there. And then over here, we want to come along this edge. And then I'm going to grab R00. I'm going to fill the rest of this side in. And then we're going to brush across over here a little bit. And then we're going to grab R01 again, and we're going to lay that down here on the R02, and we're going to pull out to where we did the R00. And then grab your R00 and bring that out a little bit more. I still got a little bit of white left there. It's okay. And then I'm going to go with my R01 again. And then I want to fill it in the rest of the way with my R00. And I'm going to soften this edge right here. Let's grab R01 again. Let's give this a little bit more color. I'm going to go with R02. Get my paper wet with that again. And then R01. And then my R00. And then later for that package, I gave it some striped lines with, again, my Copic multi-liner and a ruler. One more package. Let's use BG 23, 11, and 10. I'm going to start with BG 23. Let's do the inside over here. And then on this side, we're going to go down and over. And then we're going to add BG 11. Let's go ahead and fill in this little dab of space right here. And then we're going to pull up over here. And then we'll add some BG 10 to fill that in. For all the handles on the bags, I use C4 and C2. So let's grab our C4 first. And let's give each handle a little slash of that. So I'm going to just give a little dab on that one. And then a little dab on this one. I'm going to do a little bit here on the curve of this one. And then over here, we'll grab this one again. Here's our little curve, so let's do a little bit in there. And then up from here. And then there's this one. And this one. And then I'm just going to fill them in with my C2. So there is our beautiful Chelsea and Lauren all colored up. Then they turn out cute. There's a lot of small spaces, so you just have to go slow and be careful when you're coloring it. So again, here is my finished card. And on my finished card, you've got, they are popped up. So I have went around and I left a little bit of white space out here on the outside, and I cut all the way around here with my scissors. And then crazy me, I got out my X-Acto knife, and I can't even remember the last time I used that, but I used that to cut out all these little spaces, like in between this legs and the handles and all this stuff in here and in between their arms right here. So there's only the only white space I left was this right here between her shoe and this brown package, because it was just too small to I was afraid it would rip something in her shoe handle. And then right here, but where the girl's arm and her body is, there's a little slash of white in here. But you could also, you know, cut that out with your X-Acto knife, and this little girl has a little spot of white right here. So again, they're popped up. I used some Spica glitter pen in their hair to add some sparkles. And then down here on the packages, remember the red one, I did my Sharpie white paint pen to add the dots. And then I used my Copic multi-liner to add the X's and the lines on this package. And then my little flower over here isn't popped up. It's just kind of stuck in the middle, and then the edges are free. So I hope you had fun coloring with me today. If you have a question, leave me a comment and I'll get back to you. Otherwise, we'll see you next time. Have a great day. Bye.